Hi guys, thank you so much for watching my video. My name is Anastasia. I am from A Musica Art. I am a resin artisan and I want to share with you how to create this tray using the metallic leaves in the middle and then to paint edges. So you can choose any color of the metallic leaves. So I'll just show you this one in gold, any color of the pigments. So please stay tuned and thank you so much for watching this video. And before we begin, I'm gonna show you what we'll need in order to create the tray. So the silicone mold, I'm using the Let's Resin brand. The most important, you'll need to have and use the protective mask respirator. Gloves, another must have. Don't even start working without those two things. The measuring cup, bucket, also you can use the scale, cups, plastic or foam or paper ones. I use the foam ones because they can be reused. Silicone stir sticks or wood ones. I do have a shovel, plastic shovel to add the powders, but you can also use the wooden sticks. For this project I'm using the pigments from the Black Diamond and LunarDust and the Epoxy Resin from East Coast brand. I also work with the Magic Resin and ArtResin. The silver leaves, a tweezer, the heat gun, or you can also use torch instead. Have a wet wipes in order to clean the space around you. For this project, I'll need 600 milliliters of resin and hardener. So 300 milliliters of resin and 300 milliliters of hardener. It's 1-to-1 ratio. You can use the scales for more accurate results. I do use after the silicone stir stick to mix my hardener and resin. You have to mix it for about 3 to 5 minutes, no less than that. Once resin is fully mixed, I am dividing it into the cups. Beforehand, decide what will be your dominant color and if you will be using any additional ones. For this project, I'm using Black Onyx Imperial from Black Diamond brand, and as additional colors, I will be using white pigment from the Black Diamond as well, and the gray from the LunarDust. And again, it's just optional, you don't really need to have many colors. Your proportions color versus resin should be 30%, but it's not really realistic to measure it up, so I would recommend you to start adding less powder into the resin. Mix and check if you are satisfied. If you wish to project to be translucent, add less. If you want to have a full color, add more. If you notice you add too much pigment, just add more resin. I'm pouring the clear resin just in the middle of my mold. I want to achieve an oval shape, so I'm using the silicone brush just to help myself. It is not necessary, just simply my preference. Use the heat gun or torch to remove the bubbles. Just go gently, otherwise don't overheat, otherwise you might overheat the resin and as a result it won't cure properly and you also may damage the mold. Using the tweezers, add the silver or gold leaf in the middle. Also do it gently, just sort of drop it off exactly on the resin. Don't push it, otherwise you'll scratch the mold, and in the result you'll see the big scratch on your product and it's just not looking pretty. Other thing, you should remember that the leaves are quite heavy and they also might float and they also might drown, so you don't really want to overdo it. And if you see the big pieces, I'm just helping myself to sort of cut them into smaller pieces with the wooden stick. And I'm adding more of the clear resin, just a tiny bit, because I want them to drown into the resin. but at the same time I don't want to use way too much clear resin on my mold. Just spread it all nicely. Use the wipes. Also, you can use the alcohol spray on some sort. You can always, so I always clean my gloves in between the process, because if you see, you will be actually touching the resin or some drops or when you're mixing it. So I really recommend to have the wet wipes. Alright, so as a main color I've chosen a black. So I am about to pour it into the tray. Remove the stir stick from the cup and kind of squeeze it and just go all over the mold. I always mix a little bit less of the color pigment, just because if I mix way too much and I pour it all over, it just will cover this nice little silver leaves and the clear epoxy which we just poured in the middle, and it won't really look pretty. So do less. You can always add an additional coat after. Use the heat gun to remove bubbles. After adding white and gray pigments, I'm adding more of clear resin in the middle. You can see that silver leaves have spread around. That's okay. You can push them back to the center just using the wooden stick. If you have worked with resin before, you probably noticed that resin is pulling towards the center. So you want to keep this in mind when you wish to create a central accent with metallic leaves, like we are doing right now. So I'm leaving more of the clear part in the middle. It will be much smaller. You can actually stop at this point, but I'm adding a little bit more of the black pigment. I'm just using the fluid acrylics from the Golden brand. I just want to have a little bit that darker black color and a little bit smaller center. Yeah, so I have decided that I don't really want to have such a big clear center. Always use the heat gun. You can see how many bubbles are already on the surface. Unfortunately, they won't be gone itself, so you do have to keep an eye on them. And you can always add a little bit more of the details, just use it with the wooden stick. You see I'm just adding some lines, but again, it's just preferences, and I just like to create always something new. But other than that, we are actually done. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. I hope you actually find it helpful. After 24 to 72 hours, the tray is ready, and now we can sand the edges. I'm using a 180 grit just to have a finer touch. So if your edges are rougher, just go lower on the grit, but make sure not to scratch off a lot of it. So I'm wiping off the tray and I am going to use Deco Color Premium Oil Base with chisel tip marker. So I will be adding the edges. So I just showing like there is a, you can do just a little bit the top of the edge or cover it up completely. I will be doing so. I start from the top and you can see it works really great. And so it's always up to you. You can always leave the edges as it is, but I do like to add a little bit of the color and the effect on the edges. Once my edges are finished, I did install this modern handles in silver. And just be careful once you drill in the holes. You don't want to accidentally drill the hole in the wrong place, otherwise it won't just look pretty. And I just add the bumpers so your tray will be stable. And just want to show you the closer look of what we've created. I hope you find this video helpful, and please ask me if you have any questions in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching it.